This video is brought to you by Blue Guardian, the only prop firm that protects their traders.
That's our pullback. This is our expansion. This is our pullback. Let's look at the previous pullback and why we stopped right there and why we took that short. Right, why did we take that trade for a nice 1 to 6? What is going on, fellow traders? Welcome back to another pre-market analysis video. Hope you guys are doing well and enjoying your weekend and looking forward to another great trading week ahead. We do have quite a bit of pairs to talk about. I'm going to first start off by speaking about the US dollar and what's been going on lately, because I know you guys have been seeing some crazy volatility on the dollar across all the pairs. So, of course, if you like what you see here and you want to learn more and you want to get my direct plan, A to Z, step by step, exactly how I break down charts from a very simplistic standpoint, feel free to head over to my website, Aerial FX Trading, book a free call with me. It's free. Love to talk to you about how we can best help you along your trading journey to consistent profitability. And of course, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. But what I do recommend is that you do write down any questions you have throughout the video and mark off all these levels, as you're not going to want to miss out.
Our sponsor, Blue Guardian, is the only prop firm that gives their traders a built-in tool to protect them from hitting their max daily loss and overtrading. It's super simple to use. Just set the Guardian Protector each day from your dashboard. Did you also know their evaluations are 40 and 80 days long, giving you plenty of time to hit their low 8 and 4% targets? Check out the link and coupon in the description to get 10% off your next Blue Guardian evaluation.
So with the US dollar, what we're looking for are continuations short. You know, we have been experiencing some huge volatility ever since the CPI news that came out a few days ago. So huge crash in the dollar. This has been impending for quite some time now. I've been wanting shorts for a while. We actually talked about shorts in and around this area of supply. Now, what happened was we created relatively equal lows. We had a higher time frame low that we needed to run out. Overall, we're bearish. We came back up into this final level of supply. And what happened is we swept sell side first. This is previous liquidity. And this is also buy side liquidity. So buy side and sell side. We swept sell side first before coming up into this level. Then we rose up, took out buy side, and then dropped. So that's sell to buy to sell, shaking both sellers and buyers out of the market before the real move occurs. This is what we call type 2 manipulation within our mentorship program. And that is definitely something to watch out for because it happens time and time again. So anyways, we made that lower low after the reaction from the level, shaking everyone out, and we pulled back up into this level of supply, and then we just continue to fall. So we're just playing the mitigation train. We know the overall direction is bearish. We have our higher time frame objective here, sell side liquidity, and also this previous low, which, by the way, we have not come into yet. I'm still looking for further shorts on the dollar. Anyways, what happened was we pulled back into that final level of supply. All right, just take it from a swing point standpoint, right? Lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. This buying volume is within this range here. We're really within this pullback. We create the expansion, we create the pullback, we create the expansion. So what we're looking for, a pullback into what? Well, into an area of supply. Now, I'm not sure if this is actually going to happen. This was a huge move. We may not actually facilitate a huge pullback come next week. We may just end up continuing. I'm not going to bank on this level on the US dollar for shorts. If we do pull back up into that level, great, because this was prior demand. We had the reaction from the demand, failed to generate the higher high within this pullback, and instead broke and made the lower low breaking structure. So that turns into supply. So because of this huge move, oftentimes we'll have just very shallow retracements for continuations in the real trend because the dollar is extremely weak at the moment. Anyways, that just goes to say I am definitely bearish dollar for the near to long future, pretty much just because, what's going on, macroeconomic data, a lot of the stuff going around the world. I would not be surprised if the dollar just continued to tank probably for the remainder of the year, if not for a while. So anyways, AUDJPY, we are extremely bullish. We swept equal lows. We came into a prior higher time frame level. We pretty much just reacted right off the previous swing point, right? Retesting the structure, and we're likely to make another higher high. I have 100, that psychological level would be above this previous high here to make that higher high because we are making higher highs and higher lows on the higher time frame. On the 4 hour, I think we are definitely in a pullback phase. I would like to see further continuations short, at least into deeper down into this level of demand. I've talked about AJ for quite some time now. You can see within the current lower time frame trend, we're making higher highs and higher lows. If you zoom into this sort of level here and you take a look at what's going on the lower time frame, what you'll have is the mitigation of this area of demand. You have to scale into this to see how that's demand, because we reacted off of a prior demand, again, on the lower time frame. You can't see this because I'm on the 4 hour. But why was this demand in the lower time frame? Well, we had a reaction from this level of supply. Had the reaction that flipped from supply to demand. That's why we had the reaction there. That sell to buy produced that new demand, which is exactly why we reacted off of that, creating the new demand. So when we created liquidity in the form of a trend line, why retail was buying prematurely, they were swept in terms of their stop loss when price came below to mitigate the real level in which price needed to come into. All right, we have to understand where retail orders lie, and then where the institutional orders are likely to be placed. All right, so anyways, we had that mitigation. We pulled back into a level of supply. I'm fully expecting a higher high, which it did happen. I even called that out as a signal as well, to sweep buy-side liquidity. This is not a high in the market, right? Even though we're extremely bullish, that's not a high in the market, even if we were bearish, right? So anyways, counter trend, low, high, area of supply, just like this is supply here, which is exactly why we came into this level, right, as a retest, lower low, lower high. This is really where we failed to generate the lower low below that previous low as that overall pullback, and instead made that higher high. So we actually produced a lot of imbalance as well, right in here, just straight buying volume that needs to be filled. So that's the higher time frame level that I'm wanting price to come into. And the fact that we're now generating lower lows and lower highs, I'm thinking we're now in this pullback phase, and that's the new objective. So we need to know where price is likely to go before we can look for buys or sells in that current direction, and in this situation, sells. All right, so let's zoom in here, take a look at what's going on AUDJPY short term. So obviously we're making lower lows, lower highs, reacting off of each level of supply. We had this imbalance here that formed, and we mitigated that very nicely and created the lower low. And I love when this happens, when we sweep internal liquidity. So not a break of structure by any means, just a sweep of liquidity, mitigating a prior level that mitigated this supply that created the lower low. So anyways, where is the new range? Well, it's really just from this previous high to this low now. So I had two levels of interest that I talked about this week, 95, which is this around this level of supply, and then 96, which is around this level of supply. There's really no clear levels, but these psychological levels in and around these levels of supply are looking very nice for continuations short. So definitely looking for shorts. I'm in a little bit of profit at the moment. I'm just kind of chopping around on a Friday. We could sweep Friday's liquidity, which is likely to happen, maybe come up into 96, but probability is that we're probably going to continue short at least into 91.35. However, we are still higher time frame bullish, so we have to keep that in the back of our minds. All right, so we do have to recognize that and understand that this is a counter trend place. We just have to be careful. Anyways, that is AJ. AUDUSD, I'm liking further continuations along on AU. Dollar is extremely weak. I want to continue to look to buy XXXUSD. Anyways, on the higher time frame on AUDUSD, I'm not going to go over this again. I've been over this plenty of times, but this is a higher time frame level of demand. Okay, it's all you have to know, because in here, if this is a higher time frame level of demand, let's look at the overall pullback: low, high, low, high, low, high, low, high. Failed to generate the lower low, higher high. So this level of demand is just within this overall selling volume as well. So we're just going to classify that as the demand. Also, we had a lot of imbalance here on the lower time frame. Anyways, we produced this trend line, 1, 2, 3 touches, right? Retail's buying prematurely. So what happens was we come back down, sweep liquidity into the level of demand. We retest the trend line, further enticing retail to go short, and then we go long and take their stops. We break the structure. We're pulling back to try to go long. Again, we create equal lows. I'm liking this level around 6,560, 6,550, this last sell to buy. We also have a lot of imbalance. So what could happen before we continue long within the overall trend of the market, in which I want to see 7,343, reason why is because that is a previous level of unmitigated supply in here. We also have relatively equal highs. So sweeping a lot of buy side liquidity is really what I want to see. So anyways, if we continue long, great. We're looking for longs anyways. what we could be looking for on the lower time frame, and I know I'm on the 4-hour, but just to show kind of picture, we could generate liquidity lower time frames, sweep it maybe into demand, break the structure, and then pull back to continue. Something like this. Or what we could do, and this is what I would favor, but again, dollar is extremely weak. I don't know if we'll come below that level, but if we do, we could act as sell side liquidity. It's not going to be a break of structure. Let's not think about it like that. Think about it as sell side liquidity to mitigate this level of interest to go long. So definitely something to be looking out for. Again, I don't really have a lot of pertinent levels on the dollar across the board, like AU, NU, EU, GU, and all that stuff, just because we've been so linear this week because of the CPI data news that came out, I believe on Wednesday. So again, we just have to kind of play it by ear. I like ranging, not necessarily ranging markets, but I like waving markets. I like pullbacks. I like retracements. I like wave play. When we have linear moves, it's very difficult to determine the proper levels that price could come into, right? So AUDUSD, CHFJPY, obviously we're extremely bullish. I've talked about these levels down here. It's not worth mentioning just because, if I talked about it in April, so why keep saying it? Just because we're nowhere close to this level yet. So let's just let that go for the time being and look at what's most pertinent, right? We're extremely bullish. I think the most pertinent level at the moment, the lower time frame level of interest, would be around this 159.737 level. If we break it and go short, then we can be looking for overall pullbacks in which these levels can come into play. But until then, we're extremely bullish and we've been for a while. So anyways, price came back down almost like this rainbow pattern, just kind of like trickled back down. We came back into the prior swing point, had the reaction, right? And then we repriced ourselves and we went long. So this huge counter trend produced that counter trend here. We had the failure to generate the lower low and then the higher high. So that turns into the demand. I would like to see sell side liquidity taken, like in here, sweep it and continue with the overall direction of the market. And if we get a break of structure, well, then we'll just adapt to whatever's going on, and then we'll look at trades accordingly. So that's CHFJPY, EURNZD. So EURNZD is very interesting, and we have something very similar on EURAUD. I'm actually gonna, I don't know why I didn't highlight that. Talk about EURAUD. So anyways, with EURAUD, even though we are extremely bullish, right? I still think we can go short. And I think at least short term, potentially back down into 1.6 to retest our accumulation schematic, filling up some of this imbalance, or even just coming back down into our repricing level of demand, which we haven't met yet. So I think that even if you pull a fib from this low to this high, if we're going to make a higher high, I think we have to dig deeper into discount first. That's if we are going to continue with the overall trend, right? Because we don't know if this is going to be the overall pullback for the continuation to where we'll start something like this. We don't know that. We're overall bullish, so that's what we have to naturally expect. I'm not saying to buy it here. It could be an interested level for us to look at later. But for the time being, I think that we're short-term bearish, higher time frame bullish. We may see some discounted prices before continuing, or we could make an overall lower low to where this is a low, this is a high, this is a low, this is the buy side sweep of liquidity with the equal highs, and then the lower low again for a overall pullback, maybe deeper down into sort of like this area of demand on the higher time frame, right? Something like that. Who knows? So anyways, as I just mentioned, these are equal highs. This is a level of supply. I'm not going to scale in just for the sake of time, but we can see it, and you can go to this pair yourself. 1, 2, 3 touches of this trend line. So what is retail doing? Selling upon the third touch. So what happens? Buy to sell, right? Buy, sweeping the stop losses of anyone who is selling with this trend line, and then continuing short. We actually come into a lower time frame level of supply as well. But anyways, on the lower time frame, this is a high, this is a pullback, that's a high, this is a pullback. This is the candle that reacted from this level of demand on the lower time frame that failed to generate the higher high. And instead, we broke the counter trend, making that lower low below our previous swing point. We ended up pulling back, but we did not come up into this level. We actually created perfectly equal highs and then another lower low. So we have to, be very careful here. I would not have taken this trade because why? We have equal highs, right? I know this is structure. I know you may want to sell at supply, right? But we have to naturally expect, because these are equal highs, that we would sweep them first, come into that supply, and then fall, right? That's what we would have to expect. So we came up into that level, had the reaction, and then on a lower time frame, we'll scale in, we create more equal lows. We come back up. We fail to generate the higher high above this swing point, because what could this have been? This could have been a reaction, right? But this could have just been a pullback for continuations. And we could have just continued long with the overall direction of trend. Because again, like I said, this could have been the overall pullback. And we could have easily made a higher high above our previous swing point, right? So that's why I wasn't just selling here, but I saw this as a reaction. So I looked at it in hindsight and I'm like, okay, cool. We came up into that imbalance, into that last buying volume, that supply level. We had the reaction. We failed to generate the higher high again, and we made the lower low. So now I think that price is probably going to continue bearish because of the mitigation trend we're seeing sell side. So we had a low, we had a high, we failed to generate that lower low, or excuse me, the higher high, and instead we made the lower low. So I'm looking for pullbacks for continuation short into that 6 or 1.600 level, that psychological level. So we stopped here. We ended up coming into this imbalance, made the lower low, and we had two levels of supply. One in here, right, that consolidation, and then one here. This is the inside supply, because if this was, inside supply, it could have reacted as demand and went long, but instead of the reaction, we just blitzed right through it. There was no reaction. Because typically how you would like to see a supply to demand flip or demand to supply flip would be in this situation, right? High, low, failed, lower, low, right? The reaction off of the demand, right? Making that supply, right? We failed to generate the higher high and instead made the lower low, so that turns into supply. We had a reaction. So that's exactly what we're seeing here, but instead we just blitzed right through it. So I'm looking at the inside supply. So having a reaction now, I'm liking shorts, but we could see maybe a run of the previous high, so maybe a run of that high first and then going short. Who knows? Just because EURNZD has a very similar setup in terms of further continuations short, but I think we have to come up a little bit higher.
All right, folks, I'm here at Black Bull Markets headquarters in Auckland, New Zealand. You can see this amazing view behind me of Auckland Harbour. Now, talking about views, if you do want to get free TradingView Pro, then all you need to do is trade one lot a month at Black Bull Markets, and they're going to give you free TradingView Pro. So, folks, to find out more, click the link in the description below or the card above.
So with EURNZD, very similar. We have equal lows. We've come into a higher time frame level of supply. We have this supply in here that we had the reaction from. Now, I did not actually place an order here. I discussed it within my VIP, but I actually didn't place it. I had the risk to reward tool shown up for a video, so I can actually get rid of that now. But anyways, had the reaction from it because we're overall bullish still. Even though we came into higher time frame levels, we never really broke lower time frame structure. We kind of created equal lows here, created equal highs. This could have easily been lower low, higher high, higher low, higher high. But instead, we actually had the reaction from the supply. So in hindsight, right, because this is all hindsight to find the actual setup, we had the reaction from it. And in here, we generate the demand. So higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. This came into this demand. Higher high, higher low. This came into this demand. Instead of making a higher high within this trend, we made that lower low. So now that turns into supply. So we had the reaction beautifully from supply. And let's scale into a lower time frame here. Had the reaction from the supply, and let's look at the pullback again. High, low, high, low, high, low, high, broke the structure, lower low. So again, we just blitzed through the previous demand instead of like having a reaction first and then falling. So this will just be your inside supply, and then you also have that supply right there. And what's also interesting is the fact that if you pull a trend line, you have 1 touch, 2 touch, 3 touch. So obviously there's sell side liquidity resting below this trend line, which further gives me more conviction for this trade to go short. All right, so that is EURNZD. EUROCAD, the Canadian dollar is extremely weak right now. I'm definitely looking for continuations short on the CAD, so XXX CAD or CAD XXX would likely go short. So in this situation, EUROCAD extremely bullish. We have these higher time frame levels, these equal highs essentially. So fully expect price to go sweep these highs. Definitely looking for buy setups if I can find one. So anyways, my two levels that I'm interested in are the lower time frame and the higher time frame level. So lower time frame is really just continuations with this trend here. So if we get pullbacks into our level of demand, then I'd like to go long from around 4,650. But if we have our overall retracement, it would look like high, low, high, low, high, low, high, right? And we have this level of demand here. We made a high, we swept liquidity into demand, higher low, higher high, higher low, pull back, last selling volume, broke the structure, that turns into demand. That's why I want to see that level. However, if we don't get a deep retracement like that, then we could just play off the previous structure, which is right here, because that's a high, a low, a high, a low, a high. This could be a low into that repricing event with that little 1 hour doji candle. If you scale in, that's a clear area of demand. So anywhere in those two levels, I'm looking for continuations long if we get the pullback. GBP Swiss franc. So with GCHF, I am looking for continuations long. However, we may see an opportunity to short prior to actually going long. So we are extremely bullish higher time frame. We've made a high, we've made a low, we've made a higher high. We could make a higher low for another higher high. And we actually swept a lot of sell side liquidity with this huge sponsored move, sell to buy, in which we came back down into the repricing. It's exactly where we had our first entry, we had our second entry, and we had our third entry, and we're looking for our fourth. So we're just following the mitigation trend all the way up. So where's the previous structure? Well, we had a high, we had a low. We had a high, we had a low. We had a higher high. This is one expansion. This is one pullback likely. So this is the low that generated this high. So I'm looking for pullbacks into discount within this range. So where would that be? Well, we have a lot of imbalance right in here. Huge imbalance, sweeping sell side. I want to see further lower prices, maybe into 1.12, that psychological level. That would get us deeper into this imbalance. Also, this last selling volume in here. So what we could see is, because since we're counter trend bearish now, low, failed to make the higher high. Because this, what could this have been? High, low, high, right? Could have been, but we failed and made a lower low. So we could have one more drive into the low like that. One drive, two drive, three, with that overall pullback, higher high. That's something we could see because we had that objective at 1.12. So scaling in, where is our last buying volume? Well, if this is the pullback and this is where we broke, this is the supply zone. However, we can't necessarily just put stop loss right above that high. I mean, you can if you want to split up your positions, but ultimately this is the range. This is the high that produced this low. So you really have to put stop above here. But who wants to have an entry here with a stop here? It's kind of dumb, right? So what we also have is another entry point. So that could be an entry with a stop loss, but I also have another potential entry here with a stop loss right there to better your risk to reward. Now, why is that? Now let's just take a look at quickly the 15-minute and see how this is an overall retracement, and this is where the structure broke. So let's take a look at what's going on in here where the structure started to shift to the downside. Well, this is a higher time frame level of supply. Just gonna say that right now. This is sort of like a wedge or like a microphone pattern, right? We broke out, enticing buyers above the wedge breakout, because that's what they're taught. That's why these patterns are worthless pieces of crap, because they don't work. It's just a pattern, doesn't make any sense, right? Broke out, lower low. So enticing buyers, and then we take their stops. Okay, cool. Generate more liquidity. Oh, the breakout again above this resistance. Oh, attracting buyers. No, this is just to mitigate the supply we created after the huge buy to sell. So again, creating another buy to sell, which creates the supply zone. So what we could see if we come higher than this level of supply is a sweep of maybe this trend line liquidity here into that supply zone. So it just depends on what kind of pullback we see. I am liking further continuation short. If we come into this level first and then go long, then I'm gonna have to reevaluate it. I still might look to hedge just in case we actually still get a third drive, because even if we do come into this level, you could hedge a long with a short just in case we do get that third drive, right? So just something to consider. But you have those levels there for your convenience. GBPAUD. So with GA, we're very much bullish. And we finally came into my level that we've been talking about for about a week now. But again, this is just a lower time frame level. Why is it a lower time frame level? Well, you got to look at the lower time frame trend first. High, low, high, low, high, low, high, low, high, low. Looking for a high, just like that. But where's the real, I wouldn't say, sorry, I didn't mean to say real structure. I meant to say, where's the higher time frame structure? This is still real structure, right? It's just lower time frame. But higher time frame, we have high, low, high. This is just a sweep of liquidity, just a sell side liquidity run. We also attracted sellers below the breakout of this trend line. We had 1 touch, 2, 3, almost 4, right? Had the reaction and then the break. So buyers with this trend line were stopped out. Then sellers came into the market upon the breakout. We actually had the retest of the trend line to perfection, which is, when I see trend lines retest to perfection, I'm just like, okay, retail's going to get screwed. So retail goes short and then price goes long. And that's just obvious. Where did price mitigate? Well, a previous level of demand. Anyways, we're extremely bullish. That's all you need to know. So where's the structure? High, low, high. So the higher time frame structure is here. So if we do get a break of this doesn't mean that we're going to be pulling back to go short. It just means that we're likely to experience an overall retracement into this range, into our higher time frame levels of demand for further continuations long. So either we have the pullback into these levels to go long, or we continue with the lower time frame direction and continue long now. So we have those levels there, 1.8725, 1.8627. Mark those levels off. You're not going to want to miss out on those if we do get the overall retracement. We also have this sort of like intermediate level. If you pull a fib from the low to the high around the 50%, also shows a lot of imbalance in here, just a lot of buy side imbalance. So 1.89 is where it lies, so psychological level. But anyways, scaling in here, sell side liquidity was run, sell to buy. We pulled back, so higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. There's an area of demand in here if you scale in. That's exactly why we mitigated that to pretty much the T. So what does that create? The counter trend. So low, failed, higher, high. So our repricing events occur here and here. Really just those two tiny levels of demand before this huge imbalance, in which we actually had equal lows to sweep. We generate liquidity prior to coming into the level before continuing with the overall trend. So in this case, you have that demand. We had a channel, lower time frame. There's a channel here, channel here. We bought, right? We bought up. No, not we, but price did, to attract buyers above the breakout of this channel high, and then come back down and sweep their stops. Mitigate the demand, entice sellers below the retail trend line, this bottom level, and then we go long, we reprice, go long. So that type 2 manipulation again. So we come back down into both those levels. I had two of these just in case the first one didn't react when we came into the second one. Great reaction in profit on both of those positions now. Looking for continuations. GBPNZD, very, very similar. Overall, we're still bullish. So this is a perfect example of lower time frame structure and higher time frame structure. Let's go to the lower time frame structure first. Lower time frame structure, we're bullish. High, low, high, low, high, low. Could see a high for a low, for a high. Just continuing with that structure. Okay. So let's just scale in to each point and look for our setups. Well, overall pullback, equal lows, sell to buy, reprice, continue. Higher high. Overall pullback, equal lows, generate liquidity prior to mitigating the demand that was created as a result of the previous liquidity run, sell to buy. Coming into that demand, sweeping liquidity. Counter trend, that's our repricing. This last selling volume, we made the higher high, so higher low, that's a great repricing event. We're sitting in a little bit of drawdown right now, but I do expect price to go long. However, if we don't and we break, then the higher time frame structure comes in. It doesn't mean it's a overall break of structure to where we should just be looking for overall shorts. Because why? You have to look at the higher time frame. We're extremely bullish. So where's the higher time frame structure? Here, high, low, high, could be a low for a high. And we can see the counter trend, low, high, low, high, low, high, failed, higher high, or really higher high. So we could experience an overall retracement into that last selling volume, huge buy side imbalance. I say buy side, I just mean huge, buying volume. So there wasn't any sells that were offered within this region of price. So we're likely to experience that pullback at some point. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. Just means that if it does, that's a good area for us to target in terms of potential entries long. So that's GBPNZD.
Tired of missing trades or spending hours at the charts? Introducing my Robot Builders Club. With our platform, you can build bots in minutes, not weeks, without any coding required. Get lifetime access to my video course, VIP community, and over 40 ready-made robots. Works with MT4 or MT5, and as a bonus, you'll get 3 months access to my robot lab, where we build and test bots on live calls every week. Join the hundreds of traders who are trading smarter, not harder. Click the link in the description to learn more, get the free training, and download a free robot.
GBPUSD, and we can see the theme here. Pound is extremely strong. We can see that EURGBP is falling, GBPUSD is rising, pound New Zealand dollar is rising, pound Aussie dollar, pound CAD, pound CHF, across the board. So anyways, with GBPUSD, and this just adds to the confluence because the US dollar is extremely weak, we're making higher highs, higher lows. Let's just focus on what's going on in here. We've already talked about this in the prior weeks. If you guys aren't keeping up with these pre-market analysis videos, I highly recommend doing so, because as you guys know, I really don't like repeating myself over and over again. So definitely keep up with those. And if you haven't seen them, go back and watch them. Just type in Aerial Effects pre-market analysis on Trading Net YouTube channel. I'm sure you'll be able to find it. GBPUSD. So higher high, higher low. Called out that level and that level. I mean, I do it every week. Higher high. So could experience an overall pullback. What we had is our equal lows. We had that sell to buy, reprice, continue. Demand, perfect mitigation, easy setup for a nice 1 to 3.25. So hit that this week. So it was a great trade. And now, we had this previous level of structure. If you extended this over, it would be about that previous high. So we could just react off of that level again. That sell to buy. So just could, fill up a lot of imbalance, overall pullback. Really what I'm trying to say is it's not a clear level. However, it's a psychological level, 1.285. It's also a previous selling volume. We're also looking for buys deeper down into discount, something like that, just for a general level. Now I can't give precise levels, guys, because this is just a weekly pre-market analysis. What could happen? Well, we could see something like this. Boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom. Something like that. Who knows? Accumulation. I have no idea what would happen. Right? We could create liquidity prior to that level and go long. We could easily go like this to where we sweep buy side, sweep sell side, go long. Then maybe there's a repricing in here. Maybe that came into here. So I don't know what's going to happen in terms of the lower time frame price action. So that's why it's very important that you keep up with these levels yourself and understand what to look for. AKA, if you want these exact setups on a day-to-day basis off of what happens per day, like I said, head over to my website, Aerial Effects Trading. Would love to talk to you about how we can help. GBPUSD. So looking for longs, overall level 1.2850. NZDUSD. Again, don't have anything just but higher time frame levels to go over. We've been so linear since the news. 4-hour time frame, we're extremely bullish. We've swept sell side into a higher time frame level of demand, and we can finally say we've broken counter trend structure. So we are very, very, very much likely to go long. I have a higher time frame level of supply up in here, right? Because if you classify this, you could say this as low, high, low, and then we're looking for a high. I'm not saying we're going to go short again. I'm just saying that if we are to go short, we probably should come back up into our higher time frame level, which is right there, 6-7. So we could see this as a high, a low, and then a high, something like that. Because we've stopped at our previous level of demand that had a reaction from a previous level of supply that failed to generate the lower low within this structure, and instead made the higher high. Just had the overall pullback, had the reaction. Low, high, low, high, low, high, supply, failed, higher, high. So now we're looking for continuations. Okay. So let's just scale in a little bit. Oops. There we go. So initially we had that reaction here, had the reaction, and then the failure to generate the lower low below this low. We actually came into previous support, support, resistance, support. So that sensitive level right in there, sweeping liquidity, of course. So did that, made the higher high. Repricings are right here and right here because that's our last supply zone. So those two levels, and that's exactly why we came into those two levels. Beautiful. So where's our nearest supply demand level? Well, our last selling volume is right here. Imbalance is right here. So 6-1 is right here, psychological level. So if we get an overall retracement in 6-1, definitely looking for longs. However, we could just fill up some of this imbalance that formed with the news and then just continue, right, for a high, low sequence, right? So something like that, 6,240 could be an interested level. All right, NZD Swiss franc, just a couple more. With NCHF, from a higher time frame standpoint, we are definitely still bearish. I do fully expect 0.53 at some point. Doesn't have to happen today, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. I just expect it at some point because we're overall bearish to take out this higher time frame low. All right, because we're in a downtrend, clear as day. So anyways, what happened was, actually, let's go over structure first. Low, high, low. These are relatively equal highs. Okay, remember what we saw on Euro AUD. These equal highs prior to a level of interest. We were looking for price to react off of it, but we didn't. We made a lower low first, but then we came back up and swept it and then continued short. So NZD Swiss franc is what we could be doing as well, right? Into an interested level that we've wanted for a long time. There's a lot of confluence around this area here, a lot of confluence. I'm not going to go over that because I've already been over it about 1 million times before on prior videos. But anyways, could sweep it, buy side liquidity, come into those levels and then go short again. Okay. So we've just taken out liquidity from April of this year with a huge move. These equal lows, sell to buy. Not going to say that we're just going to pull back and go long. We have the possibility, but we're still bearish. So could we make a lower low and just continue? Possibly. So if we're going to trade this long, we have to just be careful. Actually, I don't want that level there. So I think the overall objective, if we are to go long, is going to be 5-7, and then we look for shorts. But for the time being, let's scale in. And the fact that we've created these equal lows and we had the huge sell-off, we've created a counter trend. So that low, the high, the low, the high, the repricing, the higher high. So that will turn into demand. So we've come into that level. However, I think we may run that previous low, maybe come deeper into this imbalance prior to going long again. If we do that, then I would like to see, right, the failure to generate the lower low and then the higher high. That would probably, for me, solidify the new structure. And then I can look for pullbacks to continue long. All right. However, this is very obvious in terms of a sell side liquidity run. What could happen as well, we could come back lower and then go long. Why would this be preferred? Well, it would just add additional confluence. Now, it wouldn't necessarily be preferred. I'm still looking for longs in here for sure. We'll just have to see what price gives us. However, this would be preferred because we swept sell side, started to go long, shifting the structure. So retail is trying to buy. If we short off and take sell side again and then break, then that could be good for longs for sure. However, I still definitely like the fact that we've swept higher time frame liquidity. And now we could be coming into that level, failing to generate the lower low, make a higher high, pull back for long. So at this point, we can be looking for 5,440 into this imbalance. So something like that. We have relatively equal highs in here as well. So all signs for me are pointing long on NZD Swiss franc for the time being. And obviously VIP gets updates throughout the week, so we'll just see what kind of price action we get to start the week. NZDCAD. So with NZDCAD, I'm liking longs. However, we are still bearish. So I'm going to look out for potential sell opportunities to start the week. However, it may turn into long-term buys. And I think that if I even find a sell setup, I think I'll still look to hedge long just because AUDCAD, which I'll go over in a minute, has come into a higher time frame level of interest that I think could really expand to the upside. And the fact that CAD is very, very weak would push naturally NZDCAD and AUDCAD up. Also because on NZDCAD, what happened is we came down into this level of demand. Now, I know you may think, well, why is that demand? Well, it really was our last sort of repricing. You know, we had our low, our high, our low, our high, our low, our high. We failed, higher high. So really just getting deeper down into discount, into that demand level. And we had the reaction from it most importantly, right? I didn't buy it here because we could have easily made a lower low. We swept buy side first, So we could have easily made a lower low, but we didn't. We had the reaction. So now that we have the reaction, it's starting to build confluence. So we scale in a little bit. 4-hour time frame. Counter trend, low, high, low, mitigation, breaking the structure here, higher high. However, could this just have been a buy-side liquidity run, right? A buy-side liquidity run for continuation short because of the fact that this is the structure. Low, high, low, high, low, high. That could easily happen. That's why I am looking for shorts. We finally come back up into my level that I've been wanting for so long, right? High, low, high, low, high, low, high, low, failed, lower, low. Huge imbalance move, just straight selling volume. So we finally mitigated that, and we mitigated it today, pretty much right before the market closed. So I'll be interested to see how we start to react come the start of the week to see if there are any opportunities to short. However, I may hedge with longs because we've broken the counter trend, kind of. Even though this could be a liquidity run, it could also be a counter trend break because of the fact that we came into this higher time frame level of demand. So we have two levels. Go to the 1 hour here. For one, we have this huge imbalance. There's also a repricing on the lower time frame. So we have a high, a low, a high, a low. We could go like that. Or if we have an overall pullback, this could be treated as sell side, right? Sell side liquidity run for continuations into this level of imbalance. And why is this area important between 812 and like 8075? Well, because this is supply, right? You can see that as supply. We had the reaction, right? The lower low, the lower high, the reaction from it. Lower low, lower high, that's our last buying volume in here. There was really no reaction per se. However, we just blitzed right through it and broke it. So if anything, this was the supply. We blitzed right through it, creating the imbalance. So that could be a level of demand that we could also come back down into before continuing long. So that's what I'll be looking for in NZDCAD. I'm looking for both longs and shorts as a hedge. AUDCAD, I'm really only looking for longs here. I don't really see any sort of, sell side setup at this time. But anyways, we've come back down into a higher time frame level. Now, think of this, and I'm not going to go over this because, again, I've been over these plenty of times before, but area of demand, higher time frame. Imagine the most beautiful demand that you could ever see is actually way over here, right? There's a huge repricing that failed to generate that lower low that made the higher high, right? I'm not going to go over all that, but that's where it is. We accumulated into that level. Low, high, low, high, low, high, low, high, right? This is the buying volume, so that's supply. Failed to generate the lower low below that low, higher high. That's our last selling volume. If you scale in a little bit, then within this last selling volume is this last selling volume, which has a huge imbalance right there. So I had a couple of levels. I had that repricing here, and then I had this imbalance here. Anyways, just anywhere in this region is where I'd be looking for potential longs. That's exactly what happened. Created that higher high, higher low. We came down into that level. But before we came down into that level, what happened? Let's take a look at this. Pause the video and tell me what you see. I already have it drawn up. But what is it called? It's called that type 2 manipulation, right? That buy to sell to buy. Okay? Equal highs, swept liquidity. Maybe even lower time frame attracted buyers. Coming back down, taking any stop losses. Below the previous low. Attracting sellers below the previous low. And then we go long. So shaking everyone out of the market, taking liquidity to continue with the overall direction of trend. So we've come into that higher time frame and we can see the huge reaction. So that's why I'm looking for longs on both AUDCAD and NZDCAD as well. So let's see here. There's really nothing down in here. I mean, what we could potentially see maybe is a retest of this level. So I'll extend this out. I'm sort of a perfectionist, so I like to make things very, very pretty. So I like to make it exact. So anyways, that previous level of demand we could react from around 0.88. Look at that psychological level. Counter trend in here. Low, high, failed, higher, high. So that could be demand if we get a deeper retracement than this, right? So I like this huge imbalance. I like the selling volume. 0.89 psychological level. So I'm looking for pullbacks for continuations long from either here or down deeper into that level of demand. That's ACAD. AUDNZD. I think we can dig a little bit deeper on AUDNZD. We have a huge level of imbalance that was created off of our original buy, our two buys that we haven't come into yet. So I still think the current trend, lower time frame shorts, are still valid until we at least reach this level here. So 4 hour, just like ACAD, we came into a higher time frame level. And again, just like ACAD, we had the type 2 manipulation before the higher time frame level. Equal highs taken out, attracting buyers, coming back down, taking their stops, attracting sellers below the equal lows, coming back up, taking their stops. So in the process of the huge buy to sell, we create, the huge buy to sell, reprice, continue. So that's our demand, and that's exactly why we reacted off of that level from here. Right? That's exactly why we built liquidity prior to coming into that level. That's exactly why we had 1, 2, 3 touches, the break and retest, and the reaction from that level for retail to go short, and that's why we had the reaction that strong from that level. Why was 1.05? Why do we have the buy to sell to buy, the type 2 to start with? Well, because this is a higher time frame level of demand. We had the reaction, we failed, we made the higher high. That's the last selling volume. That's why we have 1.05, which is exactly why we built liquidity prior to that level. Everything has a purpose. Everything has a reason, right? So I like the fact that we have a lot of buy side liquidity, right? Buy side, we haven't taken this high out yet. We have our last buying volume before the structure broke to the downside. I'm not saying we're bearish. I'm just saying before this I wouldn't say counter trend, before that expansionary move broke, that was our last buying volume. So at least we should trade back up into 1.1240, but I fully expect a higher high. But anyways, we can see the reactions to the reaction from 1.05, the reaction from that repricing, and then we broke the structure, higher high, so we could see a higher low for a higher high, right? We could start the new trend, high, low, high, low, high. So with that being said, let's scale in a little bit. AUDNZD, counter trend, low, high, low, high, low. We had a little bit of a reprice, I wouldn't say repricing, a supply zone there. You can see a little bit of that buying volume. That's the reason why we reacted 3 times, because 1, 2, 3 times. So this could have been supply. Obviously, we weren't looking to sell. We were looking to buy the whole time. But anyways, had a little bit of a reaction, and then we just blitzed right through it, right? So this huge move created the imbalance. So that would be where we have that inside demand to fill the imbalance. So that's why we have that level around that 1.0650. So looking for that, drop into that level before potentially going long. Counter trend opportunities. Well, we're still bearish, counter trend at least. So low, high, low, high. You can see that we have a high, a low, a high. We broke, we retested. That's supply, lower low, overall pullback, mitigation. Looking for a lower low again. So since we had that, low, high, low, high, low, high. I mean, that's just our previous supply zone. I don't think I'm going to be looking to sell that there. For one, we'll probably come into that level before we come into this level. But two, if you're going to sell this, I would not recommend placing stops above the high, because this is a trend line. So we could easily just sweep it and go short. So if you're going to place stops, place it above this high, or at least put entry here, stop here, and then another entry somewhere in here with stop above here, right? To increase your risk to reward, sort of. But anyways, you can be looking for potential sell setups that meet your rules until we reach this level. Once we reach this level and we have a reaction, all bets are off, and I think we're probably going to end up making a higher high. So this is our objective higher time frame right in here. All right, last one, AUD Swiss franc. So we have a couple of options. We are extremely bearish, really on, well, AUDCHF, NZDCHF, CAD-CHF, really XXX-CHF. CHF is very strong right now because dollar is weak. Safe haven influx. So structure, we're bearish. What do we have? Equal lows. We haven't taken out the sell side liquidity from April. It's probably exactly what we're going to do. In terms of structure, low, high, looking for a lower low. So where's our pullback? That's our pullback This is our expansion. This is our pullback. Let's look at the previous pullback and why we stopped right there and why we took that short. All right, why did we take that trade for a nice 1 to 6? Well, pullback. Where's our last buying volume? Right here. That's the last buying volume. It's not the last candle, right? Time frame is subjective. What's the last candle on the 4 hour? Could be a different last candle on the 1 hour. That could be a different last candle on the 37.5 minute time frame. You can look at any time frame you want. It's all subjective. You need to look at what's the concept behind what's going on. Where's the overall region of price? That's what you should be concerned about, not the candles specifically. So anyways, we create liquidity, 1, 2, 3 touches. Again, more of a wedge here. So attracting buyers and then sweeping them out of the market when we go short. But really, this is just the end of the pullback for a lower low. We come into a level of supply in a lower time frame. Why is that supply? You might ask, why am I? That could just been a random level. Well, even if you didn't scale into this, this is still supply. Why? Look at the counter trend. High, low, high, low, high, low, high, low, high. Blitzed right through it. That's our nearest demand. We broke. That turns into supply. That's exactly why we came into that when we faked out. So retail is like, oh, we're going long. Oh, why didn't it continue? Well, because the retail mindset is to just trade patterns, which don't mean a lick of anything. So they get trapped and they're like, well, why did price stop there? I should continue long again. Well, price stopped there because you didn't recognize the fact that there was supply right there. So anyways, that's in hindsight now. So lower time frame, we had 2 levels. 1, and then you can't see it. You'd have to scale into like the 1 hour or 15 minute, but we had another one right there. Counter trend, high, low, reprice, continue lower. That's why we have those supply zones. So we generate buy side liquidity, all this liquidity, we run it, we continue. It's how the market works every day, every week, every month, every year, every decade. It's how it works. Plain and simple. So we took it short from that level. Beautiful distribution on the lower time frame. So I was hoping after our distribution, when we finally broke, that we would retest this last buying volume. We didn't quite make it. I was really upset, but it is what it is, whatever. If we get an overall retracement, I'm still liking those levels. Because why? Well, low, high, low, right? So who knows? But anyways, but we haven't taken out these equal lows yet. So I still like 5.8. I still like the lower time frame trend, right? I still like the continuations until we make the low. If we make the low and then pull back, this does not become as highly probable because we could experience a pullback. Not to say that we're going to, we just could. Because think about it. The chances of us pulling back and making a lower low first is more highly probable in terms of if we came up into that level first, what's the likelihood that we break through it? Not as highly of likely than if we swept liquidity first and then came up into it. Then the probability is lower that we'll have the reaction for shorts. Not to say it's impossible, it's lower probability than if we come up into it first, because now there's a catalyst because we still haven't taken sell-side liquidity yet. So that's why I'm saying you have to evaluate your probabilities. Trading is a game of probabilities, right? Nothing's 100% guaranteed every time because this exact same setup could occur twice, right? One time it goes like this, one time it goes like this. You just don't know. That's why you have to stick to your trading plan. You have to stick to your risk management. Professional traders embrace losing because it's a part of the game. You're not going to be a winner every time, right? So that's why you got to get out of the mindset of when you lose getting sad. Why? Because as long as you're sticking to your rules and you know that your system is long-term profitable, then screw the short term because who cares? Got to get out of the mindset, okay? If we have an overall pullback into that level, I still like that. But again, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. We'll reevaluate at a later time. But anyways, look at the trend. Low, high, low, high, low. Okay. So imbalance was created. That's why we stopped there. Counter trend, high, low, high, low, high, low, high, low, high, low, failed, lower low. I think we could sweep this as buy side liquidity and then go short. if we do take this as sell side first and then pull back, we're still technically bearish, right? So we could react. Maybe I'll place a lower risk on that. But I like to see that level met first, and then we continue short into 5.8. So overall bias on AUDCHF is definitely short. So anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this helped you a lot. Please be sure to mark these levels off. If you use them, great. If not, no worries. At least you're prepared and can remember these throughout the week. Again, these are just higher time frame zones that I have. Stuff could change throughout the week. We could have lower time frame setups that obviously I can't predict now because, well, the market's not open yet. So as always, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. But if you want to learn more about how I trade from a step-by-step standpoint, guiding your trading so you can be that more disciplined trader and see more consistency on a day-to-day basis, feel free to head over to my website, aerialfxtrading.com, book a free call with me. I'd love to chat with you about how we can best help you along your trading journey. So anyways, guys, enjoy your weekend. Have a great trading week ahead and take care.